The story of Bardock takes place long ago, before the events of Dragon Ball. We begin as we cut to planet Vegeta, with two scientists standing in front of a crying Saiyan child. The scientist known as Planthor notes that one day, the child will be a powerful warrior, but the other scientist voices his skepticism, noting the baby is the son of Bardock, a low-class warrior. Planthor, however, remains confident in the child's abilities, opening his pod and listening to the cries of the baby known as Kakarot, urging his colleague to remember that name. Meanwhile, we cut to planet Kanasa, as Bardock and his crew terrorize the planet and its inhabitants as Ozaru. One of the Ozaru releases a blast from its mouth, eliminating a group of warriors attempting to stop them. Continuing their rampage, the streets of planet Kanasa are filled with the bodies of its inhabitants, one of the Ozaru in particular having contributed to the majority of the destruction. That same Ozaru is blasted on the side of the face and cut, growing angry as it glares down at one of the soldiers on the planet responsible for the attack. Before being crushed under the Ozaru's foot and killed, the soldier as well as the others on the planet cryptically share messages with their commander telepathically, alluding to their fate having already been decided. We pan to a total of 5 Ozaru who are on Kanasa, and as their rampage continues, the life of the planet diminishes completely. As the sun rises on the next day, Bardock and his crew rest and discuss last night, the latter noting how they don't remember much of their time as great apes. The only female in the group, known as Fasha, states that Bardock says he remembers though, prompting laughter from another member, Tora, who states that Bardock can't even remember anything from his personal life. He goes on to question the day Bardock's son was born, to which the warrior responds it was a long time ago. Fasha cuts in, noting that it was only yesterday that Kakarot was born, and urges Bardock to go see his son before their next assignment. Bardock, however, refuses, as they'd only be sending Kakarot away soon, and another member of the group, Shugesh, questions why Frieza wanted them to take over a planet as useless as this one. Bardock notes that he heard it had special powers, supported by Tora, who says its inhabitants are able to read minds and even see into the future. The group's conversation is interrupted though when the debris behind them moves, revealing the commander of planet Kanasa still alive, much to the surprise of Bardock. The commander rushes in, appearing behind the Saiyan and strikes him forcefully on the back of the neck before he can react. Bardock falls to the ground unconscious, and his crew kick the commander before hitting him with an energy blast that sets him on fire. Bardock regains consciousness and questions what's going on, the group witnessing as the commander of planet Kanasa stands before them in flames. He exclaims that soon, the Saiyan race will all die, and as Bardock moves to finish him, he tells the Saiyan to wait, going on to say that he's given Bardock the gift of psychic powers. The commander tells him that now he'll be able to see the truth. Questioning what the truth is, Bardock learns that it will be the horror of his end, a fate that the inhabitants of Kanasa had to endure as well. Laughing at the hardship that the Saiyans will soon face, the commander is met with Bardock's anger as the Saiyan launches a blast, obliterating him completely. It's not long before Bardock passes out again from the assault on him earlier, much to the shock of his crew. Meanwhile, on one of Frieza's planets, a group of Cybermen surround a young Vegeta in a training room. One of the Cybermen charge in, but Vegeta dodges him, along with others who try to attack. Impressed with his performance, 2 soldiers on the outside monitor Prince Vegeta, while a young Nappa watches as well. Inside, all Cybermen rush in at once to attack, but Vegeta pushes them all away with an energy barrier, sending them crashing into different parts of the training room unconscious. Finishing his work, Vegeta uses a finger beam to blast them all away, reveling in his victory as the soldiers note how unbelievable he is. Questioning what he'll be like when he's full grown, one of the soldiers is met with Nappa's stern warning to stay on his good side before Vegeta demands for someone to open his door. Exiting from the training room, Vegeta is met with Nappa's praise, though the Saiyan Prince tells him to stop kissing up. As the two head back to their rooms, Vegeta expresses his boredom with staying on planet Frieza, exclaiming he wants another combat assignment, going on to say that the day will soon come when they won't take orders from Frieza anymore. Vegeta grows confident, and Nappa is excited at the thought. We then cut to the tyrant himself, along with Dodoria and Zarbon, the latter alerting his master that planet Kanasa is now his for the taking. Dodoria questions who managed to conquer the planet, and Zarbon answers a band of Saiyans, much to the displeasure of Frieza. Noting that their elite fighters are becoming as strong as their own, Dodoria is surprised to learn that the group of their low-level soldiers were the ones who managed to conquer Kanasa. Dodoria says that the Saiyans are quickly becoming their best fighters, supported by Zarbon, who notes that even a small group are a force to be reckoned with during a full moon. Dodoria teases Zarbon and questions if he's growing scared of the Saiyans, but Zarbon denies this, suggesting that they merely need to keep an eye on them out of caution. He goes on to say that if fighters such as Bardock and Prince Vegeta were to team up, they could be a nasty duo in the appearance of a full moon. Frieza supports this way of thinking, noting that only a fool would welcome that scenario. Suddenly, Vegeta barges into the room alone, confronted by Zarbon and Dodoria. He exclaims that he's bored and needs an assignment, but Zarbon, appalled by the prince's manners, scolds him. Frieza, however, tells Zarbon to give Vegeta the toughest assignment they have, but urges the Saiyan prince to stay alive. Meanwhile, Bardock is seen in a healing chamber, the scientist noting that if he keeps fighting the way he does, he'll soon be even stronger than King Vegeta. Tora walks in, questioning how his friend is doing, but the scientists note that while he may be physically ready to leave their care, he isn't mentally stable, as his brain waves have changed. Assuming their leader won't be active for quite a while, Bardock's team opt to handle their next assignment on their own, Tora bidding his friend a farewell for now, as he and his team take off into the depths of space. Later, Kakarot wakes up from his nap, crying ferociously as Bardock hears him in his healing chamber. The infant's crying persists as Bardock grows increasingly disturbed, recognizing the voice of his son and begins seeing a strange vision of a planet's destruction. It's not long before Bardock witnesses the events of Kakarot's future for the first time, asserting that he's turned out to be a warrior, but different from the rest of the Saiyans. Panicking, the water is drained from Bardock's healing chamber as he continues to hear the cries of his son, the scientist wondering what happened to cause his mental state to spiral out of control. Bardock says he isn't sure and likens his visions to that of a nightmare, stepping out of the healing chamber and grabbing his gear, though Planthor suggests he take it easy for once. Denying to do such a thing, Bardock notes that he's survived this long because he knows how to fight, and questions the whereabouts of Tora and the rest of his team. Planthor tells Bardock that he and his team were ordered to go to planet Meat by Frieza himself, the Saiyan believing that they're finally starting to get the recognition they deserve. Excited to join what's presumably another fight, Bardock takes off to join his friends, soon hearing the voice of his crying infant moments later. Paying a visit to Kakarot in his room, Bardock experiences a moment of relief, realizing it wasn't another vision. However, as he gets ready to bid his son a farewell for the time being, he suddenly remembers the voice of the commander of planet Kanasa, and witnesses yet another vision of a planet meeting its destruction. Snapping back to his son, Bardock assumes Kakarot can see the visions as well, but upon seeing that his son only has an average power level, the Saiyan is disappointed and takes off for his friends. Meanwhile, on planet Meat, Bardock's injured comrade Borgos rushes in to attack someone, but he's quickly pushed away, landing on his back, lifeless. Tora rises from his injuries and witnesses the death of his friend, confronted by a group of soldiers as he attempts to reach for his broken scouter. One of the soldiers crushed the device though, and Tora questions why they're doing this. Emerging from the group, Dodoria appears, taunting Tora for his weakness. He lifts the Saiyan by his armor and tells him that he shouldn't have forgotten his place, confusing Tora, who exclaims that they've served Frieza loyally. Laughing at the statement, Dodoria cryptically remarks that Frieza was a little too impressed by the strength of Bardock's crew and has ordered their execution. Noting that everything the Saiyans have done was in the name of Frieza, Tora is met with the revelation that what concerns the tyrant isn't what the Saiyans have done, but what they might do in the future. Surprised to hear this, Tora exclaims that no one is safe from Frieza then, not even Dodoria. Annoyed at the implication, Dodoria tosses Tora in the air and uppercuts him when he lands, sending him flying off into the distance. Later, Bardock arrives on planet Meat, confident that his friends have already completed their work, and looks over the land of corpses with pride in their abilities. Suddenly, the Saiyan scouter goes off, alerting him that his comrades are close by and takes off to join them. When he lands though, all he sees are the lifeless bodies of his crew as he questions what happened to them. A faint call to Bardock is heard in the distance as Tora is still barely alive, the Saiyan reassuring his friend that it wasn't the inhabitants of planet Meat that did this to them. He explains that they were ambushed by Dodoria and his men, surprising Bardock, who notes that Frieza was the one who ordered them to come to this planet. Tora says that they were set up as Frieza wants to eliminate the Saiyan race, and when Bardock expresses his frustration, Tora states that Frieza is scared of the Saiyans and what they might become due to their growing strength. Bidding his friend good luck and a final farewell, Tora dies in Bardock's arms with a smile on his face. The Saiyan removes Tora's arm cloth, wiping the blood from his best friend's face, and notes that they tried their best to please Frieza over the many years they served him. He looks over the members of his crew that passed on one last time before the blood of Tora washes over the cloth, and suddenly the band of soldiers who killed Bardock's crew appear. They assert that Bardock should have been there to save his friends, and in agreement, the Saiyan wraps the bloody cloth around his forehead, ready for battle. Bardock charges in as the group of fighters disperse, one of them launching a barrage of energy blasts that appear to hit Bardock head on. The soldier assumes Bardock to be dead, but his scouter alerts him of the Saiyan approaching rapidly, Bardock appearing from above but he evades it before detonation, appearing from the resulting smoke to grab one of the men and strangle him with the head, until one of them gets a reading on his scouter and notices the Saiyan's silhouette in the cloud of smoke. He launches a lethal ki blast toward the shadow, but upon impact, the figure is revealed to be the soldier Bardock had in his clutches, much to the surprise of his enemies. When the smoke clears, Bardock stands alone and confident, prompting the remaining two soldiers to rush in and attack. Bardock rushes in as well, but his focus wavers when he sees a vision of Kakarot in the future. This distraction results in a kick to Bardock's face, followed with a punch to his gut when held by one of the two soldiers. Another vision is revealed to the Saiyan of his son facing Prince Vegeta, and as a relentless assault of punches ensues on Bardock's face, he questions if he's losing his mind. Snapping out of it though, Bardock evades a lethal punch to his gut and flips it on the enemy who held him in place, prompting his impalement. Taking advantage of the vulnerable state of the two remaining soldiers, Bardock releases a final, devastating ki blast that simultaneously ends their lives. As their ashes disperse into the wind, Bardock declares it a gift from his comrades. Landing and getting another reading on his scouter, Bardock turns to see Dodoria in the distance. The two share a few words before Dodoria uses his mouth blast to hurl Bardock away, along with the lifeless bodies of his crew. At the attack's end, Dodoria bears witness to an empty clearing, assuming Bardock to be dead and taunting him for not knowing his place. Dodoria is suddenly requested to return to Frieza's ship before it arrives at planet Vegeta, the villain laughing and asserting that the tyrant is planning something diabolical as he takes off. Under the pile of Saiyan bodies, Bardock emerges, injured and vowing revenge for the death of his friends. Kakarot, meanwhile, is loaded up and being prepared for send-off to Earth. Frieza approaches planet Vegeta in his spaceship, Dodoria arriving and informing the tyrant of his success on planet Meat. Frieza, however, doubts the efforts of his subordinate, Zarbon approaching and asserting that Dodoria failed to kill the leader of the group of the Saiyans, Bardock. The trio then observe Bardock making his way back to planet Vegeta, much to the surprise of Dodoria. Frieza scolds Dodoria, asserting he needs to be more thorough with his work, and when the soldier says that he'll find Bardock and kill him immediately, Frieza stops him in his tracks. He says that rather hunting the bees from now on, he's decided to go straight for the hive, alluding to the death of the entire Saiyan race. As Bardock flies past Frieza's ship, he begins to grow worried. He recognizes that the tyrant is making his way toward planet Vegeta and is able to read his thoughts of destroying the planet for good. At the same time, Kakarot's launch sequence is initiated, the Saiyan child flying past his father in space as Bardock receives another vision of the future. When Bardock lands on Vegeta, he emerges from his pod, injured and out of breath. He's approached by two men in the landing deck who inform him that he just missed his son's departure. This news shocks Bardock as he realizes Kakarot's headed toward another planet, confirming his suspicions that the other parts of his vision were correct as well. The destruction of planet Vegeta. As an injured Bardock continues through the hallways of the planet, he grapples with the weight of the visions he's witnessing. He falls to the ground out of exhaustion and says he needs to warn the others, but briefly passes out and hears the voice of the commander he killed on planet Kanasa. Seeing the adventures and growth of his son again, the commander tells Bardock that by this time, he's long since dead, sharing the fate of his planet along with the rest of his people. Bardock regains consciousness and rises to his his feet, seeing another vision of Frieza destroying his planet as he yells out in terror. He continues down the hallway, finally convinced that he's seeing the future, but unwilling to give up, concludes there might be losing balance as he falls on the floor. Despite everyone laughing and viewing it as a lighthearted incident, Bardock solemnly warns them that Frieza is on his way, going on to explain that he's scared of the Saiyans. Bardock notes that his crew was killed thanks to Frieza's doing. However, the other Saiyans laugh at him, assuming he and his crew only ended up in their current predicament because they refused to accept themselves as low-level warriors. As they continue to laugh at Bardock, the Saiyan shouts they'll all be dead soon, prompting silence from them as he plans to stop Frieza by himself. Running to confront Frieza, Bardock continues through the building, stopping to catch his breath. However, his surroundings appear to be just like planet Namek when he hears a familiar voice nearby. Shouting for the stranger to show himself, Bardock is surprised to look around and see his son, Kakarot, all grown up. When he reaches out to touch him, he's told it's not too late to be different from Frieza. With that, the Saiyan snaps back to reality, realizing he was just witnessing another vision. Continuing up the stairs, Bardock comes outside and glares up above, exclaiming that he can sense Frieza's arrival. Rather than waiting for everything to start though, the Saiyan says he'll stop Frieza once and for all, and takes off toward his spaceship. At the same time, Frieza is alerted of the Saiyan's presence. As Bardock draws closer, he sees thousands of elite soldiers pouring out of Frieza's ship. They band together and launch ki blasts that trigger an explosion, but Bardock emerges from it and lands a blow to the soldier's face. Unwilling to back down to save his planet, Bardock continues flying toward Frieza, dodging attacks from his surrounding enemies and managing to kill as many as he can. More rush in and pile on the Saiyan, but his resolve allows him to break through and continue on. Frieza asserts that he's the one Bardock wants and prepares to emerge from the ship to confront him, surprising Zarbon and Dodoria as the Tyrant is visibly triggered by a Saiyan for the first time. Bardock continues plowing through the thousands of elite soldiers, a few grabbing his body, determined to stop him from reaching Frieza. Bardock, however, calls out the Tyrant's name, releasing enough energy to completely blast the soldiers away from him. As he finally arrives within reach of Frieza's ship, Bardock yells for him to come out and fight. It's not long before the Tyrant emerges from his ship in his pod, much to everyone's surprise as the soldiers cheer for their master. Bardock, however, exclaims that Frieza's lived long enough and tells him that the Saiyans are through working for him, preparing a final spirit cannon as Frieza prepares his own attack. Launching the spirit cannon, Bardock is met with surprise when Frieza grows his attack to the size of a supernova, nullifying the blast as if it were nothing. Satisfied with the attack's size, Frieza laughs as he merely waves his finger to unleash it, Bardock unable to dodge it along with the thousands of soldiers surrounding him. Bardock screams as the supernova comes in contact with him, its potent energy shredding his armor as his life begins to slip away. Before his death though, Bardock sees a vision of his son Kakarot being the one who will one day defeat Frieza, smiling as he accepts his fate and fades into the attack's destructive power. It's not long before the attack continues toward planet Vegeta, colliding with it as it catches the attention of the other Saiyans, who were killed along with the other inhabitants. Just as Bardock's vision foretold, the planet is destroyed once and for all, Frieza reveling in his victory as the once threatening Saiyan race is exterminated for good. Meanwhile, Kakarot continues his flight toward Earth as Bardock's remnants drift in the vacuum of space. On a remote planet, Prince Vegeta receives the alarming news of his homeworld's destruction, attributed to a meteor colliding with the planet. Realizing he's now the only known survivor, Prince Vegeta opts not to send a message. Instead, he remains in solemn silence, reflecting on the devastation of his homeworld amid the thousands of corpses personally created during his combat mission assigned by Frieza. Time passes, and on Earth, we witness Grandpa Gohan stumble across Bardock's child, questioning what he's doing out in the forest alone. He picks up the baby and notices his tail, not surprised though as the baby kicks him in the face. Completely unaware of the space pod that crash landed from planet Vegeta, Grandpa Gohan names the baby Goku and plays with him, beginning the boy's journey that we know as Dragon Ball. The story of Bardock was both a sad and encouraging tale about a Saiyan who learned that life isn't always what it seems to be. Though his journey may be over, a savior was certainly born, the champion of the universe that we know as Son Goku. But what did you think of this story? Did you enjoy it? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time.